underway. Are we right, Adam? Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody to the June agenda briefing. You're right, Councillor Cavoni? Something about our laptops making some unusual noises. Yeah. Alrighty, disclaimer. Agenda briefing sessions are used to inform councillors on the items of business to be presented and discussed at the forthcoming ordinary council meeting. These meetings are open to members of the public who may request to present a deputation to council relating to an item on the agenda. No decisions are made at these meetings, although councillors can request additional information or alternative wording be provided to allow for motions to be prepared for consideration at the forthcoming ordinary council meeting. Any statement regarding any planning or development application made during an agenda briefing session is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures, and to elders and emerging elders both past and present. Record of apologies and leave of absence. I have received apologies from Councillor Holly. Otherwise, all other councillors are in attendance. Declarations of members and officers' personal interests. Councillors and or staff, are there questions that need to be made? All good. Deputations is nil, so we'll go straight into the officers' reports. 5.1, the Chief Executive Officer. 5.1.1 is the appointment of Council Committee presiding members and Deputy presiding members. We have an officer's recommendation in front of us, and there is a vacancy in the Behaviour Complaints Committee, which was Councillor Boyland previously. So are there any questions around this one, councillors? If you wish to be nominated, I suggest an email be sent through.
Yes.
In preparation for the ordinary council meeting. Okay. 5.1.2, which is the ordinary council meeting for September 2025. It clashes with the Local Government Association Local Government Convention being held from Monday the 22nd of September to Wednesday the 24th. So this report relates to just changing the dates. Are there any questions, councillors? No, thank you. I'll move on to 5.1.3, which is the local government reforms, consultation on communication agreements between council members and the Chief Executive Officer. Any questions relating to that, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Yeah, I'd just like to get some feedback from our CEO, if I may, on how you feel about the drafts that we have here.
CEO?
Communications between councillors and Shire staff is undertaken in a variety of ways across local governments, and so I do believe the standardisation and having a communication agreement is positive to set those standards between the CEO and councillors. We have had concerns in regards to the staffing levels that are proposed, though it is noted through the Manager of Governance and Strategy that there was a difference between the draft Act and Regulations and what the consultation paper was in regards to maximum numbers versus minimum number of staff that can be attributed, and to answer those queries through the local government. In the budgetary amount, I believe that we have information in relating to the potential need to employ an additional staff member in governance, There is in this local government quite a lot of contact with councillors and other administrative staff members throughout the Shire, and if that is all going to be centralised through a number of key staff, that will reallocate a workload that will need to be picked up. But overall, I think that the regulations will provide that framework, and councillors and CEO and staff will have the awareness of what those parameters are in regards to asking for information.
Yes, councillor Coleman?
Thank you for that. So do you foresee us being able to continue to ask questions of the most senior staff and copy you in? Do you see that as having to change? That seems to be working very well for our Shire, and stops us going to staff members left, right and centre, and it gets delegated with due process. So as part of the agreement that we can form, do you see that we can still continue in that vein?
At this stage, this is just a submission process into what will become the standardised communication agreement. So as part of that, if there is any variation to what the standard is, it needs to be agreed between the CEO and councillors. So at this stage, until that final communication agreement comes out, it's really difficult to understand what is proposed and where those communication lines will be drawn in the organisation.
Thanks, CEO. Are there any other questions, councillors? No, thank you. We'll move on to 5.2, infrastructure services, which is nil. 5.3, sustainable development, which is nil. 5.4, corporate services. 5.4.1, financial statements as at the 31st of May 2025. Are there any questions, councillors, in relation to this one? No. Item 5.4.2, which is payments for May 2025. I know that Councillor Coleman has sent through some, which I believe staff have responded. So, Councillor Coleman.
Yes, and I'd like to thank staff for those responses to everybody. I just have two clarifications, if I may. EFT 77229 is telecom for underground services for soak wells, and then it says at SLK 2.8 and SLK 2.83 Australind Road. What's that?
Mr. Faber.
Through the chair, their actual locations. So the SLKs are straight line kilometres that main roads use to identify distances along roads. So they'll be actual locations where those pits will be located.
Thank you. I thought they were buildings and they were code of some sort. So thank you. And the only other one I had was EFT 775 was kitchen hardware for the hardware for the kitchen at the Harvey Museum. I wasn't aware that the Harvey Museum had a kitchen, so just wondering a little bit more information about that one.
Yeah, I might have to take that one on notice. The access to that building we didn't have when we were checking, but the information on the purchase order showed that general ledger account number. So that might be an assumption from us if it is an incorrect general ledger account number. So if I can take that on notice, I'll get back to you.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman.
Sorry, just EFT 77602, more of a query. We talk about the Brunswick pool, and if I remember correctly, we felt about 12 months ago that description might not be in the best interests of the Shire. So I'm just wondering if that's changed or whether our wording needs to change.
I do recall that conversation with Mr. Locksnicker, because if it was a pool, then there was additional infrastructure that would be needed, and testing and the like. So, Mr. Winter?
Again, maybe that's a historical name on an account number that we haven't gone back and changed, but I recall the discussion here and we need to change our account number, so I apologise for that.
Oh, no apologies.
new ERP.
Any other questions, councillors? No, I'll move on to 5.4.3, policy 2.2.5, depreciation of non-current assets. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Just a quick one. Does this affect our forward capital works and any future budgeting?
No.
No other questions? I'll move on to 5.4.4, policy 2.2.13, cash-backed reserves. Any questions, councillors? I just have one, just in relation to just seeking a comment around our reserves and having just worked through the draft budget. Council is obviously very conscious of how our reserves are travelling. Just after some comment in regards to the possibility of allocating a percentage of our general rates revenue purely to reserves. So whatever that may be, but just as a concept, Mr. Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. The policy identifies the long-term financial plan as being the document that provides information as to how much we should be putting into our reserves. It would be very easy and probably a very good practice for us to include as part of the long-term financial plan a percentage that we highlighted for various reserves. You probably wouldn't want to do that for all reserves because some of the reserves have special purposes. For example, employee entitlements. We'd be looking at a specific amount to be there rather than a percentage of budget and the like, but definitely having some measure that we're looking at or putting a bit more science to how much we put into our reserves. The other good thing about this policy is council now identifying that the interest on reserves, long term, we're putting that back into the reserves, and also as we have a couple of reserves that are likely to close, we can put those, as we could previously through the Local Government Act, but we're identifying that we can transfer those balances into other reserves to help build those up as well.
All right, any other questions, councillors? Thank you. 5.4.5, proposed revenue and rating plan for 25-26. Any questions, councillors? We've worked that one through. Okay, we'll move on to 5.5, community and lifestyle. 5.5.1, which is a self-supporting loan for Leschenault Men's Shed. Are there any questions around this one, councillors? Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, thanks, Madam President. I guess I wonder why we would not have a guarantor on a loan. And when a question is, when was the last time we had interest-free loans for self-supporting loans? Because my concern is that that's something that we might want to avoid in the future.
Mr. Winter to start off with. Thank you.
If I could, through you, Chair, the idea around a loan for such a minor amount was something that we discussed in finance as maybe it deserved to be more of a grant allocation rather than through a loan. And so the discussion then went into should it be a loan through a municipal loan versus a loan coming from a third party like WA Treasury Corp. And so then it was just feeling out, okay, if it is a loan, then would it be interest free? It's a $20,000 amount. Do we need guarantors for such a minor amount? So that's really where it was fleshed out in discussions with staff. But ideally it resides in the other directorate.
Ms. Hazelhurst. Yes.
Through the chair, thank you. I guess there's also precedent for no guarantors. Council recently agreed to provide a loan to the LSA with no guarantors, and I think that Harvey Golf Club didn't have guarantors. So there has been precedent in the past.
Okay, any other? Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I just wondered this, we're giving them a loan to purchase a forklift, which is, that's a high risk work licence for those you need to have. So I'm just wondering, do they have qualified people to actually do this? They were using a tractor before, but they actually have to go and do a course to utilise this piece of kit. I wondered if we made sure they covered themselves there.
I will say that, before I go to staff, the Leisure Men's Shed did ask whether we would like them to come and give a deputation, so I've indicated that maybe next week they come and give us a deputation, and that might be a good question for them to answer. But unless staff are in a position to offer any advice on that further.
Through the chair, so what I can say is that with organisations that aren't, I guess, auspiced or run by the Shire, as in they're not our volunteers, they don't fall under our requirements under work health and safety to monitor that. So we wouldn't likely be the body that would say whether they had to have that in place or not. If they were volunteering for us, that would be a different set of circumstances. So we can certainly require them to comply with all laws on local government property as part of their lease, which would include having the appropriate licences and tickets, but we wouldn't be conducting any checks to make sure they were actually ticketed.
Any other questions, councillors? No. All right, we'll move on to item 6, which is the notice of motion for the following meeting, where Councillor Carboni has requested that council investigate the installation of a fish cleaning station at Ridley Place and provide a report back to council. Any questions, councillors? No. All right. We have one item behind closed doors. Are there any questions in regards to this item? If so, then I will move behind closed doors. No? All good? All righty. Therefore, being no further business, I declare this agenda meeting closed. Thank you very much.